Have you ever felt like you're navigating a complex game where the rules are unwritten and the stakes are incredibly high? Maybe you're part of a team striving for a seemingly impossible goal. Or perhaps you're leading that team, feeling the weight of responsibility with every decision. It's a world where talent alone isn't enough. You need strategy, foresight, and a deep understanding of human nature to truly succeed. Think of it as a high-stakes chess game, not played with static pieces, but with a dynamic group of individuals, each with their own strengths, weaknesses, ambitions, and fears. Now, imagine bringing in a figure from the past, someone known for their sharp intellect and even sharper tactics, Niccolò Machiavelli. The name itself often conjures images of ruthless manipulation and political intrigue. But what if we looked beyond the surface, beyond the negative connotations, and explored the core principles of his philosophy in the context of modern team dynamics? Could his ideas, stripped of their more Machiavellian elements, offer valuable insights into how to build and lead a high-performing team? This isn't about advocating for unethical behavior or condoning a win-at-all-costs mentality. Instead, it's about examining the strategic thinking, the calculated risk-taking, and the profound understanding of human motivation that underpinned Machiavelli's approach to power. It's about asking whether these principles, when applied thoughtfully and ethically, can contribute to a culture of ambition, achievement, and ultimately, success. Think about the challenges you face daily: motivating your team, navigating internal politics, making difficult decisions under pressure, and staying ahead of the competition. These are the very challenges that Machiavelli grappled with centuries ago. He understood that leadership isn't about being liked. It's about achieving results. It's about understanding the motivations of those around you, anticipating their moves, and making strategic decisions that benefit the overall objective. But here's the crucial question. Can you embrace the strategic elements of Machiavelli's philosophy without sacrificing your integrity or creating a toxic work environment? Can you foster a culture of ambition and achievement without resorting to manipulation or coercion? This is the tightrope we'll be walking, exploring the potential benefits and inherent risks of a Machiavellian approach to team leadership. We're not here to provide easy answers or simplistic solutions. The world of leadership is far too complex for that. Instead, we're here to challenge your assumptions, to provoke thoughtful reflection, and to offer a fresh perspective on what it truly means to lead effectively in a competitive world. Prepare to question your own leadership style, to reevaluate your understanding of human motivation, and to consider the ethical implications of every decision you make. This is a journey into the heart of leadership, where the lines between strategy and manipulation can become blurred, and the consequences of your actions can have a profound impact on the individuals you lead and the success of your team. To comprehend how Machiavellian principles might apply, let's dissect the foundational tenets outlined in The Prince. Beyond the simplified caricature of "the ends justify the means" lies a shrewd understanding of political reality. Machiavelli argued that a ruler must prioritize the stability and security of the state, even if it requires actions that would be deemed immoral in private life. This wasn't an endorsement of wanton cruelty, but a pragmatic acknowledgement that ideals often clash with the harsh realities of governance. A leader, according to Machiavelli, must be capable of both virtue and vice, choosing whichever is most effective in a given situation. Consider this not as a license to deceive, but as a call for adaptability and situational awareness. Delving further, Machiavelli stressed the importance of cultivating a reputation for strength and competence. He believed that it's better to be feared than loved if one cannot be both. However, this fear shouldn't stem from arbitrary cruelty, but from a consistent application of justice and a clear demonstration of resolve. A leader who is perceived as weak or indecisive invites challenges and undermines their authority. In a team context, this translates to establishing clear expectations, holding individuals accountable for their performance, and swiftly addressing any signs of discord or undermining behavior. Imagine a project team where deadlines are consistently missed and individual contributions are subpar. A leader who ignores these issues, fearing confrontation, ultimately weakens the entire team and jeopardizes the project's success. Another crucial layer is Machiavelli's emphasis on understanding human nature. He believed that people are inherently self-interested, and motivated by a desire for power and recognition. While this might seem cynical, it highlights the importance of aligning individual incentives with the overall goals of the team. Instead of relying on altruism or blind loyalty, a Machiavellian leader would focus on creating a system where individuals are rewarded for contributing to the team's success and penalized for hindering it. Think about a sales team where commissions are structured in a way that encourages collaboration rather than cutthroat competition. By aligning individual financial incentives with the team's overall sales targets, the leader can foster a more cohesive and productive environment. However, Machiavelli also cautioned against relying solely on force or manipulation. He recognized that a leader's legitimacy ultimately depends on the support of the people they govern. Even the most cunning tactics will eventually fail if the leader loses the trust and respect of their followers. This highlights the importance of transparency, communication, and fairness in leadership. While a Machiavellian leader might be willing to make unpopular decisions, they must also be able to explain the rationale behind those decisions and demonstrate that they are acting in the best interests of the team as a whole. Envision a CEO implementing a restructuring plan that involves layoffs. While the decision might be painful, the CEO can mitigate the negative impact by communicating openly with employees, providing generous severance packages, and offering support for those who are affected. Conversely, Machiavelli advocated for the judicious use of deception when necessary. He believed that a leader should be skilled at concealing their true intentions and adapting their behavior to suit the circumstances. This doesn't mean lying outright, but rather being strategic about what information is shared and how it is presented. In a negotiation, for example, a Machiavellian leader might downplay their own interest in a particular outcome to gain leverage over the other party. This requires careful planning, attention to detail, and a deep understanding of the other party's motivations and vulnerabilities. Building on this, however, a central theme in Machiavelli's work is the necessity of adaptability. He argued that fortune is fickle and that leaders must be prepared to change their strategies as circumstances evolve. A rigid adherence to principles, without regard for the practical consequences, is a recipe for disaster. This underscores the importance of agility and responsiveness in modern team management. A leader must be able to anticipate changes in the market, adapt to new technologies, and respond effectively to unexpected challenges. This requires a willingness to experiment, to learn from mistakes, and to embrace innovation. A software development team, for example, might need to shift its priorities mid-project to address a newly discovered security vulnerability or to incorporate a promising new feature. Now, consider how this applies when you face a situation where your team is consistently underperforming despite having the talent and resources necessary for success. Perhaps you've noticed a pattern of missed deadlines, a lack of initiative, and a general sense of apathy. It's time to step back and analyze the underlying causes. Are individuals feeling unmotivated because they don't see a clear path for advancement? Are they lacking the necessary skills or training to perform their jobs effectively? Or perhaps there's a deeper issue at play, such as a lack of trust or a toxic team dynamic. Begin by honestly assessing your own leadership style. Are you providing clear direction and setting realistic expectations? Are you giving your team the autonomy they need to make decisions and take ownership of their work? Are you providing regular feedback and recognizing their accomplishments? It's easy to fall into the trap of micromanaging or neglecting your team, but both approaches can be detrimental to their performance. Instead, strive to create a culture of empowerment and accountability, where individuals feel valued, supported, and challenged to reach their full potential. Beyond individual performance, examine the overall team structure and dynamics. Are there any cliques or rivalries that are hindering collaboration? Are there any individuals who are consistently undermining the team's efforts? Are there clear roles and responsibilities for each member? Addressing these issues requires tact and diplomacy, but it's essential for creating a cohesive and productive team environment. Consider implementing team-building activities, facilitating open communication, and addressing conflicts promptly and fairly. In situations where difficult decisions need to be made, such as restructuring or downsizing, it's crucial to communicate openly and honestly with your team. Explain the rationale behind the decision, acknowledge the potential impact on individuals, and offer support for those who are affected. While it's impossible to please everyone, transparency and empathy can help to mitigate the negative consequences and maintain trust. Furthermore, Cultivate a culture of continuous learning and improvement. Encourage your team to seek out new knowledge and skills, provide opportunities for professional development, and recognize those who are actively striving to improve their performance. By fostering a growth mindset, you can create a team that is constantly evolving and adapting to the changing demands of the workplace. As an illustration, let's say you're managing a marketing team tasked with launching a new product. Despite having a talented team of marketers, the launch is underperforming expectations. Instead of simply blaming the team or resorting to drastic measures, take a step back and analyze the situation. Perhaps the team lacks a clear understanding of the target audience, or maybe the marketing strategy is not aligned with the product's value proposition. By identifying the root causes of the problem and addressing them proactively, you can turn the situation around and achieve a successful launch. On the other hand, in instances where you must address a team member's consistent failure to meet expectations, despite repeated attempts to provide support and guidance, it might be necessary to make the difficult decision to remove that individual from the team. While this is never an easy choice, it's sometimes necessary for the overall health and productivity of the team. Be sure to document your efforts to support the individual and provide them with a clear explanation of the reasons for your decision. Given the framework established, let's transition into specific strategies derived from psychological research that can temper Machiavellian tendencies while retaining their advantageous aspects. One potent method lies in cultivating emotional intelligence. This involves not just recognizing one's own emotions, but also accurately perceiving, understanding, and managing the emotions of others. Rather than viewing team members as mere instruments for achieving objectives, emotional intelligence encourages leaders to empathize with their perspectives, motivations, and concerns. For example, if a team member is consistently resistant to a particular strategy, a leader with high emotional intelligence would seek to understand the reasons behind their resistance, perhaps uncovering valid concerns or alternative perspectives that could improve the overall plan. Considering this, a tactical shift towards collaborative decision-making can prove advantageous. Instead of dictating directives from above, a leader can foster a more inclusive environment where team members feel empowered to contribute their ideas and expertise. This not only increases buy-in and motivation, but also mitigates the risk of overlooking critical information or diverse viewpoints. Picture a scenario where a project is facing unexpected delays. A Machiavellian-leaning leader might be tempted to impose strict deadlines and punitive measures, potentially exacerbating the stress and demoralization of the team. Conversely, a collaborative leader would convene a meeting to brainstorm solutions, solicit input from team members, and collectively develop a revised plan that takes into account the challenges and constraints faced by everyone involved. Another avenue for harnessing Machiavellian insights responsibly involves refining communication techniques. While Machiavelli advocated for strategic deception, modern leadership emphasizes transparency and authenticity. However, this doesn't preclude the judicious use of framing and persuasion. A leader can still present information in a way that highlights the benefits and minimizes the drawbacks, while remaining truthful and upfront about the potential risks. Imagine a situation where a company is facing financial difficulties and needs to implement cost-cutting measures. Instead of concealing the severity of the situation or making vague promises, a leader can communicate openly with employees about the challenges facing the company, explain the rationale behind the proposed measures, and solicit their input on how to minimize the impact on morale and productivity. In conjunction with this, incorporating elements of servant leadership can temper potentially exploitative tendencies. Servant leadership prioritizes the needs of the team members, focusing on empowering them to develop their skills, achieve their goals, and contribute meaningfully to the organization. This approach fosters a culture of trust, respect, and mutual support, which can counteract the cynicism and self-interest often associated with Machiavellianism. Think of a manager who consistently goes out of their way to provide mentorship, training, and resources to their team members, even if it means sacrificing their own personal time or career advancement. This type of servant leadership can inspire loyalty, commitment, and a shared sense of purpose. Correspondingly, the application of cognitive restructuring techniques can help leaders challenge and modify their own potentially detrimental thought patterns. If a leader tends to view team members with suspicion or distrust, they can consciously work to reframe their perceptions and focus on the positive qualities and contributions of each individual. This involves actively seeking out evidence that contradicts their negative beliefs and replacing them with more balanced and realistic assessments. Visualize a leader who initially assumes that a particular team member is lazy or incompetent. By actively observing their behavior, soliciting feedback from others, and engaging in open communication, the leader might discover that the team member is actually struggling with a personal issue or lacking the necessary training to perform their job effectively. To illustrate, consider the utilization of ethical nudges to subtly guide team behavior in a positive direction. These are subtle changes to the environment or decision-making process that encourage individuals to make choices that align with ethical principles and organizational values. For instance, prominently displaying the company's code of conduct or implementing a system of peer review can subtly encourage team members to act with integrity and accountability. Reflecting on this journey so far, the landscape of effective team leadership begins to resemble less a rigid hierarchy and more a carefully cultivated ecosystem. It's a space where individual ambition, previously viewed through a potentially cynical lens, can be channeled into collective achievement, where the raw calculus of strategic decision-making finds its counterweight in the nuanced understanding of human emotion and motivation. The challenge, as we've seen, isn't about blindly adopting a historical figure's playbook, but rather discerning the timeless principles that resonate across eras and adapting them to the complexities of the modern workplace. Drawing these strands together, we see how the pursuit of high performance needn't be a zero-sum game. The leader who recognizes the inherent value in fostering collaboration, transparency, and genuine empathy is not necessarily sacrificing their strategic edge. Instead, they are building a foundation of trust and mutual respect that ultimately amplifies the team's collective potential. It's akin to tuning an orchestra. Each instrument, though capable of producing beautiful music on its own, contributes to a richer, more harmonious symphony when played in concert with the others. In light of these insights, the path forward becomes clearer, a delicate balancing act between the pursuit of ambitious goals and the cultivation of a healthy, supportive team environment. It's about embracing the strategic foresight and calculated risk-taking that characterized Machiavelli's thinking, while simultaneously tempering those qualities with a commitment to ethical leadership and the well-being of those you lead. This requires a constant process of self-reflection, a willingness to challenge your own assumptions, and a genuine desire to learn from both your successes and your failures. As we pivot towards the final reflection, consider the cumulative effect of the ideas explored, a movement away from the outdated notion of the leader as a solitary, all-knowing figure, and towards a more collaborative, empathetic, and ultimately more effective model. It's a shift from simply managing resources to nurturing human potential, from dictating strategies to co-creating solutions. The true measure of leadership, then, lies not just in the results achieved, but in the positive impact on the individuals who contribute to that success. The picture that emerges is one of perpetual refinement, an ongoing quest to reconcile seemingly opposing forces. It suggests that true leadership isn't about choosing between strategy and empathy, but about skillfully weaving them together to create a tapestry of high performance and human flourishing. The question that remains, as we approach the final insight, is how to translate these principles into actionable steps, into tangible behaviors that shape the culture of your team and ultimately define your legacy as a leader. So, as we reach the final square of this intricate game, let's not mistake strategy for soul or ambition for authentic achievement. Consider the chessboard not merely as a battleground, but as a canvas upon which you paint a vision of shared success. The true art lies not in checkmating your opponent at any cost, but in elevating the entire game, enriching the experience for all involved. The legacy of a leader isn't etched in victories alone, but in the growth and fulfillment of the individuals they've inspired along the way. Perhaps the most profound implication of our exploration is this: the most effective leadership transcends mere technique. It's an alchemy, a transformative process that blends strategic acumen with genuine human connection. It requires not only the ability to analyze and strategize, but also the courage to empathize, to listen, and to understand the unspoken needs and aspirations of those you lead. It demands a constant willingness to learn, to adapt, and to evolve, not just as a strategist, but as a human being. Therefore, regard the principles we've discussed not as a rigid set of rules, but as a compass guiding you through the complex terrain of human interaction. Let them inform your decisions, challenge your assumptions, and inspire you to create a team environment where both individual ambition and collective well-being can flourish. Remember that true power lies not in domination, but in empowerment, not in control, but in collaboration, not in fear, but in respect. And as we step away from the chessboard and back into the world of everyday challenges and opportunities, recognize that the true practice begins now. It begins with a conscious choice to lead with integrity, to communicate with transparency, and to cultivate a culture of trust and mutual support. It begins with a commitment to see the potential in every individual, to nurture their talents, and to empower them to achieve their full potential. It begins with a willingness to embrace the complexities of human nature, to acknowledge your own imperfections, and to strive continuously to become a better leader, a better teammate, and a better human being. Go forth, not as a Machiavellian manipulator, but as a strategic humanist, a leader who understands that the greatest victories are those shared, and the most enduring legacies are those built on a foundation of genuine human connection.